Is fear of hell an incorrect driving force for faith in God? So,
well, first, I guess we should probably discuss what hell is, and if hell is still a place where God is, if hell is still, we don't have this, the absence of God business. We actually have God is everywhere at all times. And the thing that the fathers say about hell is that it's actually God's love that irritates those who are there because they despise it, they don't like it. It's definitely worth discussing with whoever's interested in this question afterwards, to get into a little bit more depth. But I think if we think of it that way, then the fear of hell would be the fear of being burned by God's love rather than by being warmly hugged, embraced, enjoying the peace and joy that's everlasting. So if you ask it that way, suddenly the question loses that sting of the original power of it. Because I'm going to do my best to try and briefly say that if fear is a driver for you, so long as it's only the beginning and you're willing to openly engage in where you are, fine. But it cannot be the means or the destination, because God is not about fear. The love of God dispels fear. You become unafraid. Look at the Christians who had no fear, the early Christians walking into their death smiling. What fear did they have? One of the strongest proofs of the resurrection is that you couldn't taunt these Christians or threaten them with anything. They are with their Lord now and desire to be with Him more and more. So perhaps the question has an origin there that's very important about, is fear a right thing to have? And I'm afraid of doing the wrong thing. Well, if fear is more of a reverence to that I don't want to upset my Heavenly Father, I love Him, that's not so bad. But if it's fear, like fear of punishment, fear of something, the only punishment or death that you should be worried about is the one that means that you can't look at God and smile and feel the radiant joy that He wants to give you. It's like being invited to a banquet with Him, and He wants you to have from it, but for some reason you're afraid of being there. How does it make sense? Does it really make sense? And so we have to ask ourselves, is my understanding of fear correct? Is my understanding of hell correct? And then what does God want from this? God doesn't want you to grovel at His feet and be ashamed of your sin. He just wants to love you. He looks at us like He did the prodigal son. And that's why it's there. So if I'm ever afraid, make sure it's not being afraid of the state that I'm in, except where I feel like the state that I'm in precludes me from being able to get up like the prodigal son. But if I'm in that state and I'm not worried about my life, yeah, you should be afraid. But not because God's going to punish you, because you are eating dirt instead of a banquet.